my daughter's crazy, and told him what happened. And Zen Master Majo said, your daughter's not crazy, you're crazy. Hey everybody, how are you all doing? So today is Wednesday, March 1st. Usually I go on a hike on Wednesdays, but conditions are not so good. Some of you know we've been having a lot of storms here in California. Snowstorms here, a lot of rainstorms. I thought I was going to go to the place that had snow, but it just melted yesterday and the conditions are very sloshy. There was a couple other places that the conditions were very wet. Some roads were closed. So I decided to stay home today and take care of a few things. Also, today is the first day of Women's History Month. So I thought I would share a story with you about a woman who was a great Zen master. And I thought it'd be a good way to start this month. But before that, there's something I have to do, and if you want to join me, follow me. Do you remember this guy? Oh, little chick. Let's go. Sit. Good boy, chick. Good boy. Good boy, chick. Go. Okay, Chicky and I are back from our walk. I just realized that I have to go get some groceries for dinner tonight. So let's take care of that.
$1.99. $1.99.
Please wait. System processing.
Weigh your jalapeno peppers. Please touch except wait. Move your jalapeno peppers to the bag. Please remember to take them.
Okay, I just got back from the store and I just realized that I can prep a lot of this dinner now. So anytime I have a chance to prep early and finish later, I take advantage of that. So I'm going to make panuchos. I'm not sure if you heard of that. It's kind of like a Mexican tostada. It's based out of the Yucatan. And it's basically a round disc made out of masa harina. And you kind of fry it. You cut an opening on the side and you put refried beans in it. And then later you can kind of fry them again and then add some topping to the top, which I'm going to do some kind of spicy zucchini and a little bit of Mexican cheese. So the first thing I need to make is refried beans. Now, I know this is not traditional, but this is the way I do it, and I think it's pretty darn good. So if you're not interested in any of this, there's timestamps below, and you can skip to the next part. All right, the first step is I use refried beans here. This saves a lot of time. I use 2 cans, and I'm putting most of it in here. I'm going to add about a cup of water. All right, please just stay with me here. I know it looks unusual. And I'm going to blend this until smooth. Okay, it looks like very watery beans, but I'm going to add that kind of 1 cup of reserve beans here. And I'm just going to pulse this until it gives a nice texture. That's looking pretty good. See that texture. The reason why I do it this way is that the beans don't get dried out when you cook them. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But next up, I have to get the onions going. All right, so I'm going to start with, I think, half an onion. Add a little bit of oil. Get this on medium heat. We're going to add the onion. So here I have some chili powder, cumin, oregano, some tomato paste, and lots of garlic. And we're going to add that to the onions. We'll add our bean mixture. Give that a mix. Gonna season this up just a little bit more. Gonna let that thicken up a little bit. Finish this off, I'm gonna put a little lime juice, some cilantro. Give that a mix. And that is it. It is done. Okay, now it's time to move on to the panuchos. Let's get the dough ready here. For the dough here, we have about 2 cups of masa harina, a little bit of salt. Gonna add some water. Give that a mix. Let's get this all together and knead it a little bit. Okay, we're going to let that sit for about 5 minutes. Okay, have a little disc here. I'm going to cut these in 12 equal pieces. I'm going to take each piece and roll it up into a ball. Put them over here. Okay, now we're going to take each piece and turn them into little discs. Put them on the plate. Okay, it's time to fry these up. Put a little bit of oil. Okay, let's add our first batch. Okay, this side should be done. Let's flip them over. Okay, I think the second side is done. Now we're going to flip them again. We're going to see if we can puff them up. Push in on the center a little bit. Well, those didn't really puff up. They're supposed to puff up. You flip them over and then they puff up. And then when they're done, you cut the sides and put the beans in the middle. Didn't happen. They're pretty flat. So I'm going to have to change the name of these things. Maybe to sopas, something like that. Either way, it's still going to be good, but it's not what I intended to do. But as in life, that happens quite a lot. As I mentioned earlier, March is Women's History Month. So many people will be honoring and celebrating a long history of women's contributions to this world. If you read a lot of Zen stories, there are very few Zen stories with women in it. Now I know in my previous videos, I've mentioned stories with women who are hitting the sutra monks usually. There's this book I wanted to share. It's called The Hidden Lamp. And it has a lot of modern women, Buddhist and Zen teachers, sharing Zen stories. And these stories have women in it, and a lot of them have turned into koans. So if you get a chance, check this book out. I would like to share a story with you about a girl named Sul. Some of you know Zen Master Majo, otherwise known as Matsu. Zen Master Majo had a very dedicated student, and the student was a father, and his daughter was named Sul. This father was very dedicated to practice. Every morning and evening, he did chanting and sitting meditation. He also would visit quite often Zen Master Majo. And this father's daughter, Sul, was also very dedicated to practice, and she joined his father for the morning and evening practice and also would visit Zen Master Majo at this temple. One day, the father and Sul went to visit Zen Master Majo, and Majo looked at the girl and said, "You've been very dedicated to practice, so I want to give you a gift. And my gift to you is this mantra. I want you to chant Kwan Seum Bosa." So Kwan Seum Bosa is the Korean name of Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin is the Bodhisattva of compassion. So Zen Master Majo said, chant this Kwan Seum Bosa 24 hours a day, as much as you can. When they got home from visiting Zen Master Majo, the father put Kwan Seum Bosa picture on her wall. So Sul would sit down, chant Kwan Seum Bosa, and look at this picture. And not only that, every moment of her life, she was doing this chanting. When she was sewing, when she was washing the laundry, when she was helping to cook, when she was playing, even when she was sleeping, only chanting this Kwan Seum Bosa. One day, Sul was by the river doing some laundry, and Zen Master Majo's temple was in the distance. And there was this moment where the temple bell rang. Boom! And Soul's mind opened up. Her mind and the bell became one thing. And she realized the truth of enlightened nature in that moment. After this experience that Soul had, she was a little bit different, and her parents noticed this too. Before, she was very quiet and behaved correctly, and now she was very loud. Sometimes she would just burst out laughing. Her father would see her talking to the sky and talking to the trees. She would run really fast as she could. So this father was a little concerned about her. One evening, Soul was sitting in her room, and the father wanted to know what she was doing. So he looked through the keyhole of her door and saw her sitting meditation. She wasn't doing Kwanzaa Bosa anymore. She completely stopped. She was just sitting. The father saw the picture of Kwanzaa Bosa on the wall, but next to her should have been the Lotus Sutra, which was on a little shelf. And he noticed that the Lotus Sutra was gone. So he opened the door a little bit and looked at Soul and noticed that she was sitting on this Lotus Sutra. So he was very upset. What are you doing? Are you going crazy? This is a holy scripture. And Soul looked at her father and said, "What's so holy about it?" The father said, "This contains Buddha's truth." And Soul asked him, "Can the truth be contained in just words?" Then the father knew there was something going on with her. The father decided to visit Zen Master Majo and told him, "My daughter's crazy," and told him what happened. And Zen Master Majo said, "Your daughter's not crazy, you're crazy." Zen Master Majo wrote a poem for Soul and wanted the father to give it to her. The poem said, "When you hear the wooden chicken crow in the evening, you will know where the country of your mind was born. Outside my house, in the garden, the willow is green, the flower is red." Majo told the father to put it up in the room and see what she says. So the father was very confused. So he went back home, put this poem in Soul's room. And when Soul looked at it, she said, "Oh, the Zen master is also like this, understands the truth." Then she took the Lotus Sutra, put it back on the shelf. Soul did a lot of meditation practice, and one day she decided to visit Zen Master Majo. And at that time, there was another Zen master visiting Majo, and both of them kind of wanted to test Soul's understanding. They want to see what did she really experience. So they poured some tea, and the visiting Zen master looked at Majo and said, "I've heard this young girl has been practicing very hard." Zen Master Majo didn't say anything. So the visiting Zen master asked Soul, "In the sutra, it says that Mount Sumeru fits into a mustard seed. Somebody enters and breaks the rocks to smithereens. What does this mean?" Soul immediately picked up the teacup, threw it against the wall, and it shattered. Zen Master said, "Oh, that's very good." Now it was Zen Master Majo's turn to ask a question. So he said to Soul, "You often hear the teaching of karma in Buddhism. You have very good karma. So I ask you, what is karma?" Soul replied, "Excuse me, could you please ask that question again?" Zen Master Majo, yeah, sure. "So you often hear about this teaching of karma in Buddhism. So I ask you, what is karma?" Then Soul bowed, looked at Majo and said, Thank you very much. Zen Master Majo then understood that Sul has realized this enlightenment. Afterwards, when Sul grew up, she eventually got married and had some kids. She was a very interesting person. A lot of people came to her for teaching, and she became a well-known Zen master, just living a very simple life. Eventually, as time goes on and on and on, Sul had grandchildren, and one of her granddaughters passed away. And at the funeral, Sul was crying and crying and crying. Even when she went home, she continued to cry. And people would visit Sul and ask her, "You're a great Zen master. You understand that there's no life and death. Why are you crying over your granddaughter?" And Sul would look at all of them and said, "These tears are better than any of the sutras. Better than any Zen master, better than all of the ceremonies. My tears are not for me. When my granddaughter hears this cry, she will enter nirvana. And since you all don't understand this, these tears are also for you." This is a very wonderful story. I heard this many years ago, and it appears in my life from time to time. And it's really about simplicity, about our practice, waking up to our enlightened nature, and also pointing to the direction of our life. Many people look at actions and speech as good or bad. But it's not about good or bad. It's what is the intention behind our words, behind our actions? Is it just for me? If it's just for me, the natural result is dissatisfaction for ourselves and others. If it's for all people, which includes us, the natural result is clarity, love, and compassion. That is the story I wanted to share with you to kick off Women's History Month. Perhaps in the comments you can share a story or teaching that honors women in history. That's it for me, and I hope to see you very soon.